turn on, I don't think you guys can see because it's too dark, but I'm going to turn on the emergency lights onto arm. Standby goes down to test it, which got a green light, which is good. Turn it on, it's yellow, meaning it's using the standby, and then we're going to turn on the battery. Actually, before I do that, we'll go into EMR, and I'll show you the normal EMR checks. According to the checklist, we're going to turn our speaker off. I should get out the full checklist, but stand by. Let me get the checklist out. I'm going to show you everything. All right, here we go. I'm going to turn on. I'm going to see if you guys can see this. Battery switch to EMR, and here's the things you verify that because they're on their emergency bus. Basically, you're checking that everything works. Landing gear indicator lights. You can see the 3 green. They're on. PFD is in reversionary mode. And then you're going to go check. You're going to go sensors, and then you're going to see air data sensors. We're on 1, but it's going to be using 2. Air data computer 2 works, right? Using air data 2. And then go back. Attitude heading indicator, go to 2. It works, right? In 2. Go back. I usually like to put them back. I think if I recycled everything, it would automatically default back. Display controller. It works. I can hit the direct to button, and you can see it pulled up the little map. And it actually, since we got a cursor on here, which we're in the hangar, so it's not going to give it to us, but that would show our little position on the map, showing that GPS 1 is working. Left ETC controller is working. We're on COM 1, and if I go like this, you can see which ones are working. COM 1 is working, COM 2 is X'd out. We scroll down to NAVs. You can see NAV 1 is working, NAV 2 is X'd out. Transponder 1 is working. FMS works. I just did that I could do that by hitting the direct to button. You can see that works. Pilot and co-pilot audio. You can see, let me scroll up, sorry. Co-pilot, audio, we're both working. And cabin PA should work too. That's a requirement that's on the EMR bus. You turn it on, PA works. All right. And standby flight instrument, it's working. And it's got power. And AFC control panel works, and the floodlights work. I can turn the floodlights on, they work. So that's the EMR bus. And then we turn it on. Alright, we're going to turn the battery on. The standby power light goes off because now it's getting power. We'll let all our screens boot up. I'm going to turn the speaker off. Speaker, boom. And then we go down the list. I go databases. It's out of date, which I just found out a second ago, so we'll update that later. We go next. We go right into the box, and I put in all my information. Crew and stores, that's me and all the stuff in the nose and my bags. So I don't ever have to count me as part of the passengers, right? Depending on how many passengers I got, let's say I got 2, and let's say they're average of 210 apiece, and they got 30 pounds, say 40 pounds of bags. We'll put that in there. So we load that in there. And then takeoff, we're going to say fuel on board. Oops, I'm going to go back. Instead of typing it in, I'm going to hit fuel on board sync, which will put exactly what I've got in there, 1970. And then go next. We'd load our flight plan. Let's say we're going to, let's say Dulles or something, just as an example. And we load the full thing. We could load the whole thing. I could hit a departure, procedure. Let's do Quaker 8. Yeah, Lynchburg transition would be good. Let's say we're taking off on 5 right. We load it, and then let's hit procedure, and let's say we're doing an arrival. I'm just trying to guess which one we'd get. I don't remember right off the top of my head. I think maybe the Coke 5 or the Calver. I don't know which one. Coke 5 Flat Rock, we'll say, all right? And let's say they're landing on, we want 1 right. Boom, load it. Boom, now it's in there, and we could scroll through, make sure it looks right. We could look on the map. we could look on the map. It looks a little zigzaggedy. Oh, I was just guessing, right? Just off the top of my head. Next, I would load a departure time. So it's currently 1350 something. So let's say we're leaving at 1500 Zulu, 11 o'clock. We'd load that in there. I'd hit my cruise altitude. Let's say we're going up there at, I don't know, 35,000. We'll type that in there. Boom. And then this section right here is where I usually get this off my ForeFlight. Off your nav log, you could pull up the winds for that trip. So let's say at 35,000 feet, let's say the average winds, and you know where it says that average winds for the trip, let's say they're 270 at 30 knots. I'm just making up something. And then ISA, we'd look on that and try to come up with this as kind of an average ISA. Say it's +4 today. And then I'd save it. And what that does is it basically does like ForeFlight and comes up with a calculated fuel burn. All right, I'd hit next. We type in the weather. Since if I was outside getting my XM, I could tap this load METAR. But we don't know. I'm gonna make up a wind. Let's say it's 060 at 6. Temperature it gets from the RAT temperature off the probe. Runway good. Takeoff configuration. It defaults to what I had last time, and I'll leave it like this because this is what well, usually I do roll and takeoff. Come on. I don't know why it went back. 15 degrees flaps, anti-ice off, no takeoff factor, rolling takeoff. And that's it. It gives me my takeoff data, and then I would accept them. And the reason it says check flaps is because I told it I was going to take off with flaps 15, but they're actually flaps are up. So when I set these to 15, the engines would have to be running, so I'd have hydraulic pressure. But when I set them to 15, they would then bug my speeds. And those speeds, instead of yellow dashes, would put those numbers in there. So that would be in there. I'm getting all kinds of master cautions because we're inside the hangar. And then I go next. And then we're going to do, this is basically the old rotary test in most citations and beach jets and other type of aircraft. You have that little rotary knob you go through checking all the systems. We're going to turn our speaker back on. Yeah, I don't know why we're hearing a lot of noise. So we're going to leave the ATIS going just so I don't hear static. I'd hit fire warning.
Aft baggage smoke.
It's telling me aft baggage smoke.
Left engine
fire, then right engine fire, and then forward baggage smoke.
Left
I can cancel it.
Right engine fire.
All right, so that works. All right, landing gear.
Landing
She's
gear.
going to say landing gear, landing gear. I can cancel it by hitting the horn silence. All right, terrain failed because we're inside. Angle of attack is working. You can hear the stick shaker going off, and you saw the AOA go up. Windshield temp. The way I check that is I take the windshield anti-ice valve, open one of them, and turn it to low. And watch, you'll see a windshield over temp. I can cancel it with the caution. It goes out, but it stays there. And then I can turn off the heat and close the valve. And you kind of always do it in that order. And then it'll finish its little test. Okay, we're going to skip ahead. Overspeed, you're going to hear the beep. That's just letting me, overspeed warning works. Anti-skid test. We get an anti-skid fail. I can cancel the caution and it'll finish its little test. Annunciator, you touch it and all the lights work. You're checking all the lights. All the lights work. Boom, good. Radar altimeter, it just jumped up to 50. It's doing its little test. Terrain fail again. Like I said, it's because we're indoors in the hangar. And then rudder bias test. It's going to do a rudder bias test. Boom, we can cancel it. This rudder bias test, though, is not the same one that we do on taxi. It's just testing the avionics side of it to let the warning system side of it, I guess. The physical test of checking to make sure the rudder bias on bleeds, coming from your bleed air system, is working, and you throttle it up. And I've talked about that before on taxi. So I let that finish. It's all done, and I just hit initialize, accept initialization, and it's done. And then I'd go back to flight plan. And then what I would do on this screen, and this is all personal preference, I go to, not utility, sorry. I'm going to go to aircraft systems, and I go to temperature, and I get it on my air conditioning page because I have to have this off for start, right? So we're all ready to start, and then I'd get my clearance, either through PDC or through the ground or whatever. Something's going to keep bothering us. And then I'd set my altitude, say my initial altitude is 5,000. 5,000 is set. We put our squawk code in there. I would hit my go around button to pull up my flight director, and it puts it in takeoff. And we're ready for start. We wouldn't have all these yellow lights because obviously I'd be outdoors and I'd have the door shut. And both are on GPS 1 right now, that little caution. And I can show you guys probably why. Let's aircraft systems. Let me see, I gotta remember where it is. FMS sensors, here it is. Position sensors, RMP. So here, GPS 1 status, we can see the antennas, right? That's GPS 1. If I look at GPS 2, you can see it ain't picking up any antennas. I don't know which antenna is where on the airplane, but this is probably further back and it's inside the hangar, so it's not picking up as many satellites. That's why they're both on GPS 1. So that's normal too. Once we're outside, that light would go out. So, and then we go to full screen on our map. And once again, I go back to air conditioning, and we're ready to go. So, that's it. Thanks for watching.